A 12-inch sign, 12 by 12 sign from Home Depot or Lowe's is not going to get the property sold. You're going to need a lot more than that.
Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video. We are with Ted Thomas, the Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. And today, Ted's going to be discussing the best way to advertise land for sale. Now, Ted, I'll tell you right now, if I had some land that I was looking to sell, I don't think I'd really know the first thing about, how to let people know about it. So what is the best way to advertise land for sale?
Well, unfortunately, most people that are trying to sell something, they don't think about media. They don't think of all the things they have to do. So if you want to reach clients and you want to sell land, you're going to have to be an assertive marketer. In other words, you have to do something. That's why I say if you take a 12-inch sign like this and put it in the front lawn, it's not going to do a very good job for you because you're only going to get the drive-bys. So sellers need to know who the buyer is, what the pricing should be, what's really acceptable to the buyer. If you don't know what the buyer wants, how on earth are you going to sell things? All right, now, if you want to sell something, you're going to have to use media. Now, what is media? Well, of course, that sign, 12 by 12 sign, it's media, but it's not enough. If you want to improve the sale and you want to accelerate it, make some money, you're going to have to do something about media. Now, what is that going to mean? Well, media is everything from the multiple listing service. It could be much bigger signs. It could be using electronic media like Facebook Marketplace. You could use Zillow. You're getting the idea. And what if you did all of those at the same time? Well, now, if you did that and then you offered an installment sale payments and you offered financing on that property, guess what? You could be the bank and you could be selling a property and making it happen quickly.
Are there specific types of land that are more appealing to people and therefore just more marketable?
Well, folks, what we're doing is you're buying property at a tax defaulted auction. So I can tell you from experience about 20%, maybe 25% even, of all the properties that are coming up for auction every month at every auction are going to be some type of land. All right, so you need to understand there's going to be a lot of it. There's going to be an abundance. Now, the question is, what kind do you want to have? Well, you want to have properties that could sell. Now, it's going to be relatively easy if there's a property here that's built, the property here is built, and then they've got a road all built and it's got services underneath like utilities and water and sewer. That's going to be easier to sell. But land generally, rural land, you have to think about that. Does it have water? People like to know if it's got water. They'd like to know if you did a survey. What about power? Does it have power to the? What about the drainage? All right, all those things are going to be important. Here's what people do. They drive by and they look at it. Well, I can tell you, all rural property is going to look the same in your neighborhood or neighborhoods or outside those neighborhoods. It's all going to look the same from the car. You have to get off your rusty dusty. So what's the deal? Most people have a big blunder that they make. It's a huge blunder. They don't understand marketing. They don't understand they've got to get things lined up and provide a solution for the buyer. The buyer's going to ask a lot of questions. So you're going to have to think about that. You're going to have to put on Craigslist. You're going to have to use Redfin. You're going to have to use multiple listing. You're going to have to find out about land brokers. That's how you go about selling properties.
So how can landowners target their advertising efforts to reach the right people?
Well, first of all, the buyers are always interested in price, but they want to know a lot of other things besides that. So if you're going to target people, what can that land be used for? Is just open range land? Is it agricultural land? Tell me about the soil, okay? Is the soil good for row crops, for example, or is the soil only good to use as an orchard, okay? You're going to have to answer those questions. Otherwise, the people are not going to. You have to target them because some people know exactly what they want. Now, I mentioned earlier, certain buyers just want to buy trees. Other buyers, they want to buy land where they could subdivide it. Then there's even other buyers, they just want to hold land for appreciation. So you need to know the answers to those questions so you can advertise directly to that buyer. So if you have knowledge of those things, you need to put that in your advertising along with the fact that you'll make an installment sale or that you'll finance the property and things like that.
Well, should a landowner considering hiring a real estate, agent or some sort of a land specialist to help them with the whole selling process?
Well, you've really got good questions here because you're asking, should we use other people to help us? In every line of work, you should use experts. Use professionals to help you. Real estate agents really know what they're talking about. Now, but let's be a little bit narrow cast this a little bit. A real estate agent knows how to sell houses, doesn't know necessarily how to sell land. So land brokers, they are a special breed of cat. They know things that urban brokers don't have a clue about. So you're going to find those specialists, and they're just loaded with information they can tell you. They're going to help you because they have different skills. So I'm a big advocate. Find people that will help you, whether it's attorneys to make sure you know about the law, or to make sure if you're going to do home inspections that people are going to be able to check the properties right, or whether you need repairs. It doesn't matter what you need, but use professionals. You don't know everything. You're not going to be able to get this job done unless you use others to help you.
So Ted, do you have any final tips or advice for, somebody who's looking to advertise their land in an effective way?
Well, I don't know. I guess I've got a lot of advice, but here's the first thing I would tell everybody. Find out about the land. If you don't know where the boundary lines are, you better start right there and get a land survey so you can find out, first of all, is anybody else encroaching and building fences and raising cattle on your land? That would be number one. Number two, just as important, are you encroaching on someone else's land? If you want to sell something, the buyer wants to know what they're buying. So if you can't describe your land and you don't know anything about it, guess what? You're going to have a tough time. You're not going to come across very well. So you need to know the boundaries. You need to know the use for the land. You need to know the zoning for the land. You need to know the client for land. So it's not just one thing. Don't just drive by, oh, I'm going to buy that. What are you buying? You have to know what you're going to buy. Encroaching is a big deal. Now, I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out in many cases, someone else will come and build a fence. The grass will grow. Everybody will think, oh, well, those people own that land. They're taking over your land. All right. There's whole rules in the law about what happens when you take over somebody else's land. And don't believe people don't do that.
Listen, if you're watching this, I'm sure Ted just answered a lot of your questions. But if you have a question he hasn't answered, just leave it in the comment below, and you will get an answer to that. His research team is always looking over these videos. You will get an answer. Hey, Ted, you also have a PDF that you offer people every once in a while, don't you?
Yeah, I absolutely do. But I do want to mention one thing before I go. And before I mention that, folks, when the county sells the property at a tax auction, they are not telling you that it's X acres and they've gone out and measured it. In other words, they confiscated, forfeited property. They're selling it to you as is. That's caveat emptor. What does that mean? That means buyer beware. So when you're buying that, if you sell it, you darn sure need to be aware of what you're selling. So if you're going to be a knowledgeable buyer, that's going to be number one priority. Number two, be a knowledgeable seller. All right, now if you want to know where to find these properties, there's going to be plenty. All of the auctions are going to have 20, 25% is going to be some type of land that they're going to sell. If you want to know more about that, you can go right below me, and what'll be there is an interactive map and calendar, all right? And you can find out about tax defaulted properties there, and you can also find out about how to get a gift from me, and the gift simply is you could go and you could look up every property in the United States by simply using the gift that we're willing to pass on to you.
So be sure to click in that description below. And thanks for watching, everybody.